Hey, it's Drybear. And the fate of Super Earth relies on you now more than ever, so today we're going to look at the latest Helldivers II news and activities. First off, at the Superstore, you have 1 day left or so to pick up the CM17 Butcher set, which is a medkit passive armor set, which also has a relatively unique looking helmet. You also have the CE67 Titan armor set, decent armor rating, and has the engineering kit passive. It also is one of my favorite looks in the game. I like more of the modest engineer look that some of the armors have. For Major Order, we're still looking at fighting back the automatons, at this time with Menkent and Lasath. Menkent is the north side of the Hydra sector and is kind of teetering on the brink, whereas the Helldivers is doing a great job on liberating the Lakale sector, with Lasath almost completely liberated. And unless we get a counterattack from the automatons, it's looking like we're going to be able to clinch this one easy. However, personally, I was kind of hoping to see the automatons push a little bit further because I wanted to see some new environments or some new areas that we might have to fight them on. Then again, they are kind of inching closer to Super Earth, so maybe not. Our current personal order is to kill 60 enemies using the anti-material rifle, which is pretty straightforward. The only downside here is you have to run this. I know some people really like using the AMR just to kind of have that position of being able to deal damage from distance, and if you're a really good shot with it, you can actually deal with some decent medium-sized enemies with it. But I think as far as dealing with the hardest enemies to deal with, you're going to want to go with some higher firepower, and if you're in a group, I guess this isn't too hard to complete. You can get it done in a single run. And we just recently got our third premium Warbond, which is democratic detonation and includes an explosive crossbow, which is a ton of fun. But now that we're a couple Warbonds into the game and people have been playing for a good while, the developers of Helldivers II are looking for more feedback on the game. The community manager has put up polls on the official Discord asking the community for their feedback on topics, and I'm guessing that a lot more of these are going to be rolling out over the next couple weeks. The first poll asks if your thoughts on the marksman rifles are in line with the rest of the community. What do you think about marksman rifles in Helldivers 2 overall? 79% said that they're underpowered and need to be buffed. 148 out of 58,000 votes, which amounts to, rounded down, 0% said they're overpowered. Some 6% said it was okay, and 15% said they don't ever use them. And this one is a little bit closer to my heart when it comes to Helldivers 2, because I tend to like long rifles, sniper rifles, marksman rifles, but realistically, with the amount of enemies you face, either with automatons or with terminids, it often is the case that you're better off with like a dominator or a breaker or some kind of shotgun, or even just using your heavy weapon or support weapon rather than trying to go for a precision rifle. So I would definitely say I'm in the same boat as most of these people, saying that the marksman rifles in general just need to be brought up, and I would like to feel like they have nice impact. And I think the base kit of weapons, if there's going to be some that have higher penetration through armor or can deal with the bigger enemies, I feel like the precision weapons that don't do well in small close quarters or with swarms would be better off for that. So I'd like to see them experiment with some of those options for the marksman rifles. The next poll is about the democratic detonation Warbond, and I think you want to kind of color this response from the perspective that, again, the pseudo-hard currency of the super credits that you use to buy these premium Warbonds are actually earnable in-game, both through completing the free Warbond and previous Warbonds, and also by playing the game and finding them throughout your missions. Which, being able to completely freely unlock the content that's being added is not really all that common in today's gaming landscape, so it's nice to be able to have this as an option. But I think the feedback here is pretty poignant, and then the majority of people, 68%, have said that the Warbond itself, democratic detonation, is good, but I feel like it's missing something. 27% said they love it, 2% said they hate it, and 3% somehow said that they feel overwhelmed by content. But I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion. So let's dive into what I think people are saying when they say that they feel like something is missing. When you look at the previous Warbonds, Steeled Veterans, Cutting Edge, and Democratic Detonation, they all feel like they're kind of the same. I feel like we've gotten primarily primarily very similar primary weapons and lots of medium armor. And I think that's kind of why the third Warbond in that sequence starts to feel very samey. It feels like the meta and strategy for how we're playing Helldivers 2 hasn't changed all that much, and there's certain content buckets that aren't being filled up at all. I would love to see a lot more variety in the secondary weapon category, because I haven't changed my secondary weapon in quite a long time in Helldivers 2. I also feel like we have a ton of victory poses, but nowhere near enough of the emotes and secondary effects. And I feel like there needs to be a lot more variety in the armor itself. Not only do we need more options for light and heavy armor, since most of the armor in the game is medium armor, but also I'd like to see those differences expanded upon. I personally like running light armor for the high movement speed, though in general, it's pretty much best to just run medium armor across the board. It's a good balance of every single stat, and generally as long as you're running in a good squad and you're using the right stratagems at the right time, you're not really going to feel any pressure. So I'd like to see not only a wide variety in difference for the visuals for the armor, more silhouette breaks, maybe heavier armor that's even bigger than the ones we got, though granted there is a nice heavy armor presentation in the latest Warbond, but even more light armor options as well, maybe some that allow you to move more aggressively or give you more motion outside of just the jetpack or having some kind of support option that moves you through the battlefield. But in general, if the answer to what do you want in the game is I just want more, it's a really good sign that the game is in a healthy state and is growing, and people just enjoy playing the game and just want more stuff to play around with and more things to engage with. Speaking of presentation and looks of the characters, there was a comment on the X old school Twitter that was talking about the presentation of the Helldivers. A community post was made about what other options could exist for armor and how to make the play styles and gameplay more diverse, and someone responded with, or just have a transmog system. That way people can run whatever they like cosmetically. But the CEO responded from Helldivers 2 saying, we are not doing transmog, period, full stop. It doesn't make sense. Equipment looks different because it has different effects. Swapping one for the other is like having an apple that tastes like bacon or the other way around, and honestly, a bacon apple does sound pretty good right now. But this is a huge discussion that happens in most games, the ability to customize your character, your avatar, your profile's appearance for standing out or having your individuality in game, and also in games that have competitive modes. If you think about games that are more like MOBAs like League of Legends or Dota 2, when they have tons of skins in the game that might affect the performance or the competitive aspect of the game. If a character's ability effect changes and looks different, is that going to affect the ability to fight against that character? Maybe the walking sounds are different with a skin versus the default, and some companies have gone as far to say that in competitive games, you can only use the base model, especially when a lot of money is on the line for a major tournament. But that is not the case here in Helldivers 2. In fact, most of the time, Helldivers 2 is a PvE, player versus environment, player versus enemy environment of you and your squad mates going up against hordes and hordes of AI-driven monsters that are trying to kill you. So having that restriction in this case, I think doesn't make as much sense. And personally, there isn't really anything that I glean or react to when I'm looking at a teammate's armor set specifically. I do, and you should be doing this too when you play Helldivers 2, react to their support weapons and their weapon choice. If you know that they have a lightning shock weapon that will bounce between enemies, you want to position behind them so you're not standing in the way of their fire. If you see that they're running a mortar turret, you want to try to stand away from enemies and never get in melee range because you might get blown up. If they have a laser rover, you want to try to stand near them or just have a perpendicular aspect to your positioning so you don't get lasered down by other things, and then you have to pay attention to what they're bringing. But none of this, at least in my opinion, and maybe yours is different, and if it is, let me know down below, but I feel like I never really make any adjustments in how I play with all the random teammates that I play in random matchmaking based on what armor they're wearing specifically. In fact, I could make a pretty strong argument that the majority of the armors in the game don't make a major impact on your gameplay, as they probably could or should relative to other PvE style games that have massive differences in what the armor brings to you. You might have higher armor rating, speed, stamina regen, again. You might be able to have pings and radars on your scans, or have extra heals or extra grenades, or be able to avoid death when you get hit. But for the most part, you're kind of playing the same way, and especially when you go to difficulties 7, 8, and 9, you're not really trying to look at the bare minimum individual interactions. You're so swarmed and surrounded the entire time that you're mostly just trying to deal with the heavies that are coming in and make sure that you're not in line of fire for anything that can insta-gib you. So not only would I like to see more armors in the game and more perspectives, more silhouettes, and more visuals, I would also like to see more gameplay options for the armor itself, but I want to know if I'm alone in that. Let me know if you share the same opinion. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.